You're listening to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude with Miranda and Horsemanship, where we discuss training wins and fails, mindset, personal growth, and everything in between. So grab your favorite cup of coffee or reins and let's ride. Hey there, it's Miranda Allen, and welcome back to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude. You may have noticed that last week I may have missed an episode. But this week, there will be two. Why, you may ask? Well, this coming Sunday, March 1st, I will be presenting on horsemanship at our local county 4-H tax sale. Now, this is no little tax sale either. It's actually shaping up to be the largest that's ever been, and in the county where I got my start in horses. It is such an honor to be coming back and teaching a little bit about horsemanship and giving back to the organization that helped me get my start. So needless to say, I have been fully focused on preparing for my presentation, along with dealing with sick kids and the endless winter germs that have kicked our butt. And quite frankly, I just didn't have the time or energy to get a podcast done this past week. Now, whether you can attend in person, can only stay for part of it, or just want to revisit the presentation again later, I'll have you covered. I'm pre-recording the presentation and releasing its podcast episode, so no one misses out. That'll be episode 13. I'll have it available the day of the presentation. Hopefully, I can get caught back up one day with a few extra podcasts in the backlog for when life happens with kids, but that's where I need your help. Please send me ideas of what you'd like to be covered on the podcast going forward. So, with that being said, let's jump in. With spring being right around the corner and horse owners starting to come out of winter hibernation and wanting to ride, today I wanted to talk about something that I see riders struggle with all the time, and it's a huge safety red flag. That is when a horse walks off when you're trying to mount. This is an absolute hard no for me with any horse that I ride. And here's why. When a horse moves as you're putting a foot in a stirrup, you are in one of the most vulnerable positions possible. It can be so easy to lose your balance and have your foot slip through the stirrup, the horse to spook or jump forward, and suddenly you're being dragged across the arena or across the pasture. Mounting is not just a casual moment, it's a critical moment. Now, when a horse walks off, I don't immediately label them as bad, but I do see that as hard information. It tells me that there is a hole somewhere in a foundation, a hole in trust, a hole in clarity, in respect, or even in understanding. Yes, everything we ask our horse to do is unnatural. After all, we are just predators climbing on the back of a prey animal. That's just reality, so issues are understandable. But if a horse is truly prepared for their job, this should never be an issue. Now, I see professionals all the time in allowing their horses to walk off the second they swing a leg over. Now, they know their horses. They're very likely athletic enough to handle this, so they can get away with it for now. And that's their choice. Best of luck to them. But that's just not for me, because besides putting themselves at a higher risk for hang-up, they will likely have more issues when it comes to selling that horse down the road to somebody who is less athletic or less of an experienced rider than them. And one day, they themselves as a rider are not going to be as athletic when they get older or perhaps even injured. And that's just reality. And often, when they do start experiencing these type of issues, they won't be as physically handy to work through them as they had been if they would have started years prior. I want to make this part clear. Your horse standing quietly will never hurt your performance, not even if you're running barrels or racing. The idea that they are allowed to walk off because they're just hot and ready to go is just simply an excuse of poor horsemanship. Now, all horses have quirks. You absolutely have to pick and choose your battles at times, but this is not one of them. If you consistently allow your horse to walk off when mounting, you are reinforcing it. Remember, what you tolerate, you enforce. And what starts as a few steps today will often become a trot and then eventually running off. Horses learn by repetition. They learn what works best for them, and that's not always what's best for you. And this is where it really breaks my heart. Quite often, I see riders, especially kids, haul in all the way to a practice or a show that they've been excited about all week, and then they can't even get on their horse. They spend 20 or 30 minutes trying to mount. Sometimes they miss their class or practice entirely. Then they have to just pack up and go home, reinforcing to the horse that they can get away with it. That is not a quirk. That is not something we brush off. That's a foundation issue stealing confidence from a rider. And most of the time, they're desperately looking for a quick tip or trick to fix it in the parking lot. And guess what? There isn't one. This needs to be first fully addressed at home, and then you move on to places away from home where there isn't going to be a time limit. This isn't about a shortcut. It's about rebuilding something that should have been solid from the beginning. Now, here's the part most people miss. Stopping movement is actually one of the most difficult things for a horse. Whether it's standing tied, standing to be mounted, lying down, or being hobbled, standing still goes against their fight or flight wiring. Because a horse knows that the last thing that they do before they die is to lose balance and or to lie down. It doesn't matter if it's colic, laminitis, or a predator attack. So when we ask them to stand still, especially while we're pulling them slightly off balance, trying to climb on their back in a confined area, of course it's going to trigger the reactive side of their brain. But if you understand horse psychology, understand how to flip the horse's mind from the reactive to the thinking side of their brain, mounting becomes an opportunity to grow their confidence and to build their foundation. So, how do we work on it? This is not a quick tip or trick situation. This is foundation repair. For me, it starts on the ground. I want to be able to move that horse's feet forward, backwards, left, and right with softness and clarity. Because if I can control the feet, I can influence the mind. Once a horse understands to leave their feet where I place them and trust that they will remain safe, we can begin to desensitize the mounting process, such as touching the stirrup, pulling in the saddle, stepping up and down, without immediately committing to fully getting on. The next part, though, I think is the secret sauce that so many people overlook. Once I do swing on, I don't walk off. I sit. I ask for lateral flexion in both directions at a standstill multiple times, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. I'm looking for how soft and supple can I get their face. Then I wiggle around and I adjust my weight and I work on desensitizing that horse to me moving around in the saddle while holding still, because I never gave them the cue to walk off. Then I will sit and ask for more lateral flexion. The key is to take your time. Show your horse that you're not in a hurry, and do not walk off until they are fully committed to standing relaxed and giving up that you're going anywhere in a hurry. It may take a few rides where all you do is you just practice walking off, stopping, standing, doing some lateral flexion, wait till they're relaxed, and then repeat the process. But if you put in your homework, it will pay off. And I repeat this process every single ride. Even the hottest horses can learn to stand quietly and confidently when the expectation is clear and consistently reinforced. The best way to start with this is at the beginning of their training career, so that they never learn this dangerous habit. However, most times we do buy horses that are already broke to ride and come with a slew of both good and bad habits from their previous owners. If you're dealing with a horse that's already developed this habit, just know this: it can absolutely be improved. But the longer that it's been allowed, the more consistent and patient that you'll need to be in correcting it. This isn't about perfection, it's about safety. When you fix this one small moment, I guarantee you'll often see improvement ripple into the rest of your ride, because a solid foundation always shows up somewhere. Thank you for tuning in to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude with Miranda and Horsemanship. If you've enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with friends who love horses as much as we do. And while you're at it, be sure to check out my website, mirandaallyn.net, that's ALLYN, to stay updated on the launch of my upcoming online course, Essentials of Horsemanship. And until next time, remember, horsemanship is in the details.